Dragon Ball is a piece of trash.
Fight back, nigga! Fight back! Fight back!
At least it's what a lot of people will have you think on the internet with all the revisionist history that's been going around. See, I, for a long time, have seen conversations around a lot of the older anime or just anime in general. And for the most part, I've stayed away from them because I feel like some of the dialogue's a little bit disingenuous, a little bit toxic. But I was like, fuck it. Why not? I don't talk about anime enough on this channel, I feel like. And sometimes you gotta do some stuff to feed the algorithm. So why not talk about one of the most well-known, more popular, more influential anime to ever exist in Dragon Ball Z in hot take format. I put a bunch of posts out across social media, from the Facebook groups to, I think I put one on IG, TikTok, as well as Twitter, and I compiled all the hot takes from there, as well as some from my creator friends, and I have 2 or 3 of my own, and I wanted to react to those hot takes and give you guys some hot takes and see your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. So keep in mind, outside of the first 2 I'll probably give you that are mine, the rest of these hot takes are not my own opinion, or at least until I read them, because I may agree with them, I don't know. But for the most part, they're other people's opinions. So if you got smoke, don't come for me with the smoke. But without further ado, let's get into Dragon Ball and these Dragon Ball hot takes.
You're now watching the Captain.
Okay, first off, we're going to start with one of the Facebook posts here. So I put the post out and asked for people's hot takes. My guy, Jonathan Phillips, says, I'd rather see Goten and Trunks as the new main characters instead of Goku and Vegeta over and over again. You know, I understand where you were coming from with this, but I don't know if Goten and Trunks have the cachet with fans to carry the series solo. Now, they should, but I don't think they do. Just for the factor of, I don't think we've seen enough time of them being built up and seeing enough people be able to connect with them. Again, I feel like this is something that can be easily fixed if you have an arc from start to finish that is focused on them. Kind of giving them an arc similar to the high school arc that Gohan had in the Buu Saga, but a lot better, obviously. Just give them time for fans to really lock in on who they are and not have them like intertwine with all the big names like a Goku or Vegeta the entire time. I will say, to give a little bit devil's advocate there, only reason I don't think that will be as viable is just due to the fact that people, for the most part, wanted Goku and Vegeta. We saw what happened whenever Toriyama looked to move away from Goku and have Gohan take over as the main character of the series, a character that got a lot of buildup and development in the way that I was talking about Goten and Trunks needing from the very beginning of Dragon Ball Z, from the Saiyan saga up to Namek, even up into the Cell games. We saw Gohan's journey and saw him develop and become that peak level character. Even up to the point to where he got his like zenith moment where he became a Super Saiyan 2, one of the biggest, if not the biggest moment in Dragon Ball history. And then we go into the next series and we just see a lot of people complaining about wanting Goku back, and people was begged and begged for him back, so Toriyama brought him back, and then we ended up seeing that as a whole thing. So it's one of those things that where like, yes, I think it's needed, but will fans be satisfied with it? I doubt it. It's a lot of people that say they will, but I doubt people rock with that. Next one up is from my guy, Zack Bloom. He says, Gohan didn't get nerfed. He actively chose to stop fighting as a result of being traumatized by violence as a child. Yeah, I think I see that conversation around a lot as well in regards to people just saying Gohan was nerfed and Gohan isn't strong, Gohan isn't cool. And it's more so a conversation you hear around starting from the Buu Saga on, because he's like actively weaker. I think Vegeta even lets him know like, hey, you're significantly weaker than you were at the Cell games when you were a child. And I would probably have to agree with that. I think for the most part, there is no like just nerf or Toriyama is just like, yeah, we'll just make him not as strong off rip. If you're looking at the writing there, for the most part, yes, dude went through a lot of trauma fighting and doing all this stuff, and I think he kind of had the same mentality of, hey, Vegeta's here, Piccolo's here, Tien, there's other Z fighters here, I don't have to focus on fighting so heavily. Granted, Chi-Chi was a big influence in that as well, kind of, you know, encouraging him to go to school and getting a degree and, you know, just living a regular life. But for the most part, yeah, Gohan wasn't really nerfed. It was just him actively choosing not to do something. And obviously, and for people that know, you know, when you don't train a skill for a long period of time, or you kind of take a big break off from that skill, or let's say it's working out, cooking, a sport, you're gonna get rusty and you're gonna need some time to get back into swinging things. And I think we're seeing that with the way Dragon Ball has been going on thus far, up into like superhero pretty much. So yeah, I'd agree with that one. I think I think that take is valid. Next take is from my man Thomas May III. He says, Goku never beat Vegeta. this one's going to piss a lot of people off, but technically, my man's right.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
In the 3 fights I think they've had where they went head up, one was in the Saiyan Saga, which obviously required the entirety of the Z fighters to take out Vegeta and like disarm him. Which, if you want to be honest, Gohan was really the one that beat him in that moment in time. That wasn't a dub for Goku. Now, the argument you can have here is that we actively know that in this moment in time, when they're both fighting in Super Saiyan 2, we know that Goku has another level to go in Super Saiyan 3, so he's actively stronger than Vegeta in this moment. But obviously, I think for sparing Vegeta's ego is part of the reason, and 2, Goku being like addicted to fighting, I think he wanted that fight to drag out as long as possible so he kind of matched Vegeta's level. Even though at that moment in time in the Buu Saga, Goku may have been stronger, he still didn't get that win. Great, again, he got snuck. I don't think Vegeta got a win either. But yeah, I can't give Goku that dub there. And then moving into the most recent one, I think they had during, was it Battle of Gods? It was one of the super movies or arcs there, maybe the Broly movie, where you saw them training on Beerus' planet, and I think Vegeta did get the best of Goku in that one little training instance. So as far as head up bloody battles go, where they're really fighting it out, I would have to agree. Goku does not have a dub. I would have to also agree that Vegeta doesn't have a dub. Part of me doesn't want to count sparring just for the fact that it's not a fight to the death. And I think when you're fighting for your life and fighting to kill somebody, you're fighting with a different level of intensity and a different level of focus. And I don't think you're fighting with that same level of desperate nature in a training scenario. So I will give Vegeta that dub, but I'm not really counting that. That's kind of fugazi to me, but you know. Oh my God, he's a casual. Is what it is. The next hot take is from a dear friend of mine, a colleague, the anime academic. He says, he has a few things here, but we'll start with the first take. The story hit its peak with the Frieza saga, and no arc after it was narratively as strong. Everything after is just spectacle. So we'll get to that one first. I will have to agree in regards to a full-length arc for the most part. I think the closest you have in regards to a good written arc is probably the Samasu arc in Super, which I'm really not a super fan of. I think there are some, usually when you have time travel as a thing, things get really convoluted. Only one I would really heavily disagree with, but I could probably challenge this with playing devil's advocate, is probably the Cell saga. I think the Cell saga did a lot of things narratively that was cool, that really showcased the nature of a lot of characters. Like I think the Cell saga showed a lot. It's kind of put a mirror up to Vegeta. Like Cell was a mirror up to Vegeta, showing that his own arrogance there. Gohan's development was another great thing there. I think Cell served the purpose that they were trying to do with like the Shadow Dragon arc from Dragon Ball GT, where Shinron was supposed to be a culmination of all the different Z fighters and all the things that made them bad or made them strong. It's almost like a poetic thing to like be the thing that they had to fight against now. And I think Cell was that, but written right in regards to him having literally all their attacks, all their genes, knowing their tactics and things like that, having memories. I think that was really poetically done. And I think some of the writing was done very well for that. So I want to agree for the most part, but I would argue that the Cell saga was written pretty well narratively in regards to, at least from character writing personally, but that's just me. The next take my friend has here is Tien deserved better than to be sidelined during DBZ. He had a whole arc in Dragon Ball and barely one fight in all of DBZ, and it was holding off Cell. So I 100% agree with the Tien take. I think that Tien has a lot of potential, and I think it's shown no better than in the Dragon Ball Z Abridged series, where they really put a lot of time into the Tien jokes and making Tien's presence kind of a badass thing, building up into the moment he had in the Cell saga where he was holding off Cell with the Kiko Ho. I think that Tien could really follow the similar route as Krillin, because even if you don't want to give them a new transformation like you kind of did with Piccolo to kind of make them feel cheesy, you can at bare minimum have them showcase a lot more prowess like you did with Orochi or Krillin in the new tournament. And I feel like they kind of did it in the Tournament of Power, but I think there's just more things you can do there. Maybe that's leaning more into the mythology aspect of things, where the fact that Tien has the multiple arms, has the solar flare. I just think there's like another level of power you can kind of reach to that isn't God level, because I do think that was part of the issues we've had with the series. And I'll get into the hot take probably at the end with my own personal ones. But yes, for the most part, I will agree Tien is being kind of wasted in Dragon Ball and deserved a lot better. The next one up for my guy Anime Academics is some DBZ movies deserve to be canon. Broly, Cooler, Tree of Might, and Lord Slug do little to the overall narrative and just make the narrative that much wider. I personally agree. I think it is wasted. It's a wasted thing to have characters that could be so dope not be used. And I think it really shows itself again. And you have movies like, it was like a Christmas themed one that came out with the Dragon Ball Z Raging Burst 2 game, I believe. But you have these characters who are just there that you can roll into your narrative, kind of similar to what you did with Broly, when you brought Broly back and you just not using them. Like they make sense. And you can do a lot of things with these characters. Honestly, I think this rolls into my next hot take, into my first personal hot take I have in regards to movies as well. More so regarding Broly. I'm not gonna lie, I think the OG Broly from the first Broly movie has a lot more aura and dopeness and is more intimidating than the Broly of new. In me saying that, I understand that the animation and the narrative is a lot more cohesive and better in the new version of Broly. Like, he's not just angry because Goku was crying next to him. But the stuff he was doing and the way he was acting like a true villain was dope. I understand that they're trying to make him more of a protagonist in the new Dragon Ball, maybe more of an probably more of a protagonist if we give it a bug. Broly just needs to be a demon to me. Like, the moment where he's sitting down talking to the Samotians in Dragon Ball in the first Broly movie, and he's like, "Hey, little nigga, is that your planet? That's your planet? Hey, fuck your planet." And just like blew their planet the fuck up, like showed how much of a demon he was. The fact he's grabbing Goku by the face and dragging him along, the fact he's clotheslining Gohan, and like he's just a force of nature that's a demon in that first movie in a way that I don't think he was quite in the new version. I think in the new version, he was more of a sensitive boy. He was sweet, kind of caring, and then obviously the demon kind of came out of him later on. But even then, it kind of made me feel weird and kind of annoyed that that version only really came out of him because his father was murdered, which again, I understand is consistent with, you know, the way Super Saiyan transformations work with Saiyans in general and how like loss and rage fuel a new level of power. I get that. But personally, when I see Broly, I'm thinking about that man being the devil. So the next one I have here is from my guy, Zack Bloom as well. The Buu Saga was unnecessary and everything should have ended with Gohan defeating Cell. This is one I want to agree with because I see where you're coming from. But I will say there is some stuff in the Buu Saga that I thought was fun. I feel like people that watched a lot of the Saiyan Saga to the Planet Namek Saga, or at least the Frieza Saga of things, don't necessarily 100% always remember the tone that Dragon Ball itself had and how goofy it was, the jokes. I feel like tonally, the Buu Saga was trying to fuse a lot of the goofy, childlike, whimsical nature of Dragon Ball with some of the grittier fights and higher staked battles that we saw in Dragon Ball Z. Now, did it work at all? No. Was it fun? I think it was fun. I enjoyed Majin Buu. Like, I still see people use the boo, like the Buu voice. Like, I think it still has some good snippets there. And I think for the most part, people still really enjoy Kid Buu as a villain and how like demonic he was and how unhinged he was. Like, I think there are enough moments in the Buu Saga that people enjoy that are reason enough for that to at least exist. Now, again, could it be done better? Yes, I think most of Dragon Ball in its entirety could be done better. But I think there are enough high moments and big moments in general that people love to this day that I think work. And I will say the people that do love those moments aren't just the delusional Dragon Ball fans, because I do understand there are a lot of delusional Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z fans out there. But I think for the most part, even the casual people, even people that are super in the anime will acknowledge there are dope moments in the Buu Saga that you can enjoy. The next one up is moving into TikTok. Mr. Trombone says, Dragon Ball Super didn't have too many transformations. God and Blue originally belonged to Dragon Ball Z movies. As far as Dragon Ball Super anime goes, the only new transformations shown were Rose, a divine version of Super Saiyan Blue Evolved, Ultra Instinct, and Legendary Super Saiyan, which is a canon thing. This is one where I don't disagree in the number of transformations. I don't know. I want to agree because on a surface level, there's a lot of transformations. You have Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, now 4 after watching Dragon Ball Daima, Ultra Instinct, Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan Rose, Super Saiyan Blue Evolved, Ultra Ego, Gohan Beast Mode. So we have like 10 transformations. Oh, that's not including Piccolo Orange now. So that's 11 transformations. The Legendary Super Saiyan transformation, that's 12. So there's like 12 total transformations off the top of my head I can think of. I think that's a lot of transformations. Granted, A lot of those transformations are character driven, and like as regards to Beast is something that looks like it's going to be inherently unique to Gohan, at least for now, as well as Ego. I haven't read that far into the manga, so I don't really necessarily know how Ego necessarily works. If it's like a god thing, a Saiyan genetic thing, I don't know. But there's a lot of fucking transformations. Now, what I will say, I'm gonna use this take as well to transition into my second hot take that I have. I don't think that Super Saiyan God transformations are really good. I don't think they're needed. I think they're unnecessary, and I think they are not earned in Dragon Ball, personally. When you look at every transformation up until that point, usually there is some kind of thing that was needed to obtain that level of strength. For Super Saiyan 1, it was literally Goku training and getting to that level, a certain level of strength, and then seeing the loss of Krillin that then caused him to rage out, and then he received that transformation. When we're looking at Super Saiyan 2 initially, when it comes to Gohan, it was him mastering the original Super Saiyan in the time chamber with Goku, and then having the loss of his father as well as Android 16 dying that made him snap in a similar fashion to his father with Super Saiyan 1, and he achieved Super Saiyan 2. Super Saiyan 3 was literally Goku training in the other world when he was dead, where he had no limits on the amount of ki he had as well, so he was able to just be strong and like go all out and train super hard in the other world, and that's how he achieved Super Saiyan 3. Super Saiyan 4, we now know, at least at that point in time in GT, was Goku not necessarily training to get this transformation, but this one seemed a lot more warranted because of the factor it factored in for Goku's genetics being the fact that he turned into a great ape, and Super Saiyan 4 being a derivative of the great ape form made sense to me. But we'll start with the Super Saiyan God transformation from Battle of Gods. That was so annoying to me because it was just some shit that was pulled out of their ass, I feel like. I understand that we seen the story of the legendary Super Saiyan before, but for the fact that the Super Saiyan God thing was just kind of brought out of nowhere, and it was a power that Goku the fact that Goku was able to get this random transformation that was randomly discussed in this film, and he got this through just getting ki from all the other Saiyans, which to me seems kind of odd. I'm looking at other instances where he's got an energy, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know. Like, we're looking at the Broly movie, the original Broly movie, but again, I can understand Toriyama changing stuff down the line, but that form in general just didn't feel earned because it just came out of nowhere. Blue, I can maybe concede Blue just for the factor of they train for it to obtain that level of strength and master it, but I still feel like these Saiyans who have alien genealogy that got them to a certain level of strength because of their genetics, as well as Goku training non-stop as a child up until this point, I feel like it was just kind of annoying to have him go from the Super Saiyan transformation, which is very much so like a mutation, and then jumping to a god level transformation and putting him in the tier of Beerus is kind of annoying to me personally, especially when we get to something like Ultra Instinct, where it was like, you're telling me that the gods in general have this form that none of the other gods of destruction have been able to master. Beerus himself, being alive thousands upon thousands of years training with Whis, has never been able to obtain nor master. Now Goku, being in a dire situation, is able to unlock Ultra Instinct and then master it, only using it for a couple minutes. I'm like, no, that's some bullshit. This is bullshit. I hate the God transformation in UI because of that. Now, do they look cool? Yes, I will admit that. But I'd rather have a Super Saiyan 4 or a legendary Super Saiyan or a variation of the two, because those are a lot more in tune with the whole aspect of the Saiyan lore and the Saiyan mythos. Now, Broly with the legendary Super Saiyan thing, I don't feel as bad about, and I'm okay with, for the factor of he's a one of one. He is the only one to have that type of power outside of Kale, which again, different dimension variant type of thing. But for the most part, they are the only two to have that kind of power. So I'm not mad at somebody having a unique variation of that power. But in regards to just everybody be able to get this god level tier strength, and then Goku randomly getting this master UI strength that goes beyond the God of Destruction, then no one is fucking me. Can't do it. I'm annoyed by that. The last take I have for you guys is coming from my friend Dr. Kaori Knight, who you've seen on the channel a bunch of times. She says that Chi-Chi was never wrong. I wholeheartedly agree with this shit, because if I'm putting myself in the position of a parent, right? Not even just a mother, just a parent in general. And you're telling me on a non-stop basis, my child is being flown across the galaxy, across the universe, and he is getting the absolute dog shit beat out of him. So let's start off with just Dragon Ball Z, the beginning to start with. After my husband dies, I then have my son get kidnapped by his mortal enemy who tried to kill not only me and my husband, but the entire world. He then takes my child and disappears into the wilderness to like train him and beat the hell out of him for months on end. Then we get my kid back, and then he immediately jumps to space to go get almost murdered by another swarm of aliens, then to have him come back again, and then now him as a teenager is then fighting a bunch of killer androids and then has to fight and get the dog shit beat out of him again in that scenario. It's like literally Chi-Chi has never had a moment in Gohan's childhood, for real, for the most part, outside of some of the movie stuff, where he's just gotten to like be a kid and chill with his mother. He's been like in perpetual turmoil, perpetual situations of being in danger of dying, or not even just dying, being beaten to death. It's one thing where you're like just dying, or maybe you get destroyed with like a key blast, but like bro is legit getting like the equivalent of the Crimson Crowbar, like the Tim Drake crowbar the Joker gives him. It's a similar equivalent in my opinion. It's some wild shit. He's just getting beat the hell up. So all that happening, you then have Chi-Chi come to the realization at the end of the Cell Saga, like, hey, bruh, Vegeta's here, Piccolo's here, all the other Z fighters are here. You destroyed the androids. There's no other foreseeable threat in the future. You're going to go to school. You're going to be a regular person. I don't think there's an issue with Chi-Chi wanting her son to live a life without being beaten to death, where he is going to get education, living a regular life, maybe get married, have the grandkid. Like, I understand Chi-Chi and why she would want to do that, and I wholeheartedly agree with Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi is never wrong. Chi-Chi is always right in this scenario. Now, you guys let me know in the comment section below if you guys agree with any of these hot takes, with my hot takes. If you vehemently disagree, let me know that in the comment section below as well. But before you guys leave and click off this video, please do me a quick favor. If you guys are interested in Dragon Ball in any form or fashion, and you guys want to see more of my thoughts on Dragon Ball and what it has to offer in regards to its impact and how it changed the anime landscape, please click on the video that I will be showing at the end of this. That is a kind of a documentary video essay that me and a good friend of mine from my podcast and then in our podcast, Professor E, did, looking at Dragon Ball and its influence on Western culture, and more specifically Black nerds in the West. So you'll find that video there as well. This has been Captain Diesel of Captain Diesel's Dojo, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.